We spent last week in the western corner of North Africa's Atlas Mountains, learning the lore of Sidi Chamharouche, the king of the jinn. Sidi Chamharouche is arguably the most important mythical figure from the folklore of the people whose towns and villages speckle the Atlas and other mountain ranges in Morocco. This week, we travel even further north to the Mediterranean coast, where the Rif Mountains are located. The Rif Mountains are another Moroccan mountain range rich in history and mountain-related folklore. We'll visit the town of Chefchaouen, whose name tells you just how much the surrounding mountains have impressed themselves on the minds of the people. In Northern African Arabic, the word chuf means to look. In Tamazi, the language spoken by the Amazi, who are the indigenous people of Northern Africa, the word Echawen means horns. The horns in question here are Jebel Megu and Jebel Kala, two mountains overlooking the town, whose peaks thrust into the sky like the horns of a Nubian ibex. And so Chuf Echawen translates to look at the horns, that is, look at the mountain peaks. Some of you might already know my favorite folktale from the Rif Mountains, and it's the story of Hani, the woman whose lover, Chaeb, is killed by the mountains of Chefchaouen for participating in the quarrying that defaces and destroys the mountains. And you can read the full story in Italian folklorist Elisa Cimenti's Tales and Legends of Morocco, published in 1965. I'll include a link to the book in the episode notes. In this episode of the Mythological Africans podcast, however, we'll read a poetic retelling of Hani's story from my self-published book of African folklore, The Runaway Princess and Other Stories. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Mythological Africans podcast, where we read and talk about stories from African mythology and folklore. I am your host, Helen Nde. O mountains of Chaouen, look on us with mercy. Jinns of the mountains, forgive us our sins. You are slow to speak, so they think you are mute. You are slow to move, so they think you dead. They come with pickaxes, tall and strong they come. They come with pickaxes to cut into your body. They come with pickaxes to dig at your soul. They come with pickaxes, Chaeb among them. Chaeb, my beloved. Chaeb, my friend. Why do you wound the mountain? Fear you not its wrath? It is slow to speak, but it is not mute. One day it will roar, then what will you do? It is slow to move, but it is not dead. One day it will shake, then what will you do? O mountains of Chaouen, look on him with mercy. Jinns of the mountain, forgive his sins. The mountain has no soul, Chaeb says, but he does not know. Its entrails are metals, he says, but he does not know. The mountain has no soul, Chaeb says, but he does not know. It cannot know suffering, he says, but he does not know. I, Hani, I know what is real. I know the mountain is alive, but Chaeb does not see. I know its hair is the forest, but Chaeb does not see. The spring and the rivers, the blood of its veins, the rocks are its bones, but Chaeb does not see. Fear the mountain, O Chaeb. Fear you its wrath. Beware its anger. But Chaeb does not listen. O mountains of Chaouen, look on him with mercy. Jinns of the mountains, forgive him his sins. They shake the foundations Allah has laid, rattling the mountain's bones. They play the Nifri with earth's pillars. The mountains fall and people die. O mountains of Chauen, look on us with mercy. They took you by your horns. They rattled your bones. You shook and the boulder came crashing down, the mountain roaring loud as it shook with anger. It caught Chaeb in its grasp and hid him in its palm. O mountains of Chauen, look on him with mercy. Mektub, a cruel thing. Destiny, its sneering brother. My heart stumbled, my spirit stuttered. O mother, don't tell me Chaeb is dead. O sister, don't tell me it is fate. O Allah, wipe this imprint off my forehead. O Allah, bring me back my beloved. O mountains of Chauen, look on me with mercy. Let me see my beloved again. Chaeb, I say your name. Last night I dreamed of the mountains. In my feverish grief they came to me. I saw what had been done to them. Heads stripped of hair, a face with no nose, missing arms, twisted legs, open veins with bitter blood. They marched through the village, their breaths an angry howl. I fell to my knees and begged them. They do not know that you too are believers, I begged. They do not know that you laugh, that you sing, that you dance, that you stroke the clouds with your hands. But I, Hani, I know that you are alive. I know that the prophet Jesus heard you weep with despair when you saw your bodies used for altars not to Allah. O mountains of Chauen, look on them with mercy. Jinns of the mountain, forgive them their sins. But onwards they marched despite my pleas, intent on vengeance, and who can blame them? Still I begged, tossing and turning, screaming and feverish, so close to death's door. The readers of the Holy Quran came. When their soft voices filled the room, the mountains paused in their advance. The believers listened closely and repented their anger. When they spoke, their voices were gentler. Your faith has helped us see, sister. For this we promise. You will see your beloved again. You will see Chaeb before you die. A green twig for you, Chaeb, my lover. A branch of everlasting flowers. I swear fidelity to you forever. A pitcher of milk and some incense. A small offering, Jinn of the mountains. Something to soothe your anger. I beg you, do not be angry with my presence. For still they come with their pickaxes, tall and strong they come. They come with pickaxes to cut into your body. They come with pickaxes to dig at your soul. You are slow to speak, so they think you mute. You are slow to move, so they think you dead. O ever-patient mountains of Chauen, look on them with mercy. Jinns of the mountain, forgive them their sins. Time has passed, and now I am old, and still I come, even though I am slow. A pitcher of milk and some incense, a small offering for you, Sidi Shemharush, great and gentle Jinn of the high peaks. War has come, and more strangers with it, invaders with no care for Chauen, and no love for its mountains. Oh, they have done them the worst kinds of surgery, blasting open their chests, tunneling into their hearts. Oh, may Allah curse them. May He not spare them. Mountains of Chauen, show them no mercy. Jinns of the mountains, remember their sins. But look on me with mercy, O jinns. Look on me with mercy. Let me say my beloved again. Chaeb, I say your name. Mektub, a cruel thing. Destiny, its sneering brother. When I see the crowd gathered around the ditch, on my way down from my pilgrimage, when I see the body, my heart stumbles, my spirit stutters. Oh Allah, not another one dead. Oh, his poor mother. Was there an accident? No, Mother Honey, come and see. It is a body we found buried as we dug the ditch. When I see the face, oh Allah's Prophet, oh mountains of Chauen, You have shown me your mercy. You have let me see my beloved again. You have preserved him from decay. Chaeb, I say your name. My heart sings, my spirit soars. Chaeb, I say your name, and I soar home to you. I hope you enjoyed the poem. I changed a few things as I read so the flow would be better, but there is a link in the episode notes to a free copy of the book, which you can read on Internet Archive. And if you love what you read and would like a copy of your own, you will also find a link to where you can buy the book. All that being said, there are a few things in the story which I want to talk about. If you read Elisa Chimenti's version in Tales and Legends of Morocco, you will pick up on the fact that the great jinn of the high peaks to whom Hani brings offerings of milk and flowers is Ulad el Ahmar. In the book, Ulad el Ahmar is described as having feet shaped like goat's hooves. When I wrote the poem, I was fortunate enough to have it read by Yassine Nakarid, a Moroccan artist who also drew the beautiful illustration of Hani and the mountains of Chefchaouen that appears in the illustrated version of the book. And interestingly, Yassine did not recognize the name Ulad el Ahmar. In his experience, Shidi Shamharoush, who we met last week, is the great jinn of the Moroccan mountains, even in the Rifian region, apparently. So you will find that in my version of the story, I reference Sidi Shamharoush, not Ulad el Ahmar. And this act of creative license is grounded in the understanding that folktales can be both time capsule buried into and signposts planted on the landscape of a people's cultural history. As time capsule, the themes, motifs, and other such stylistic elements included in a folktale recorded at a given time indicates the ideas and the items that people value at that time, and this can be kept constant with different retellings at different points in time. As signposts, the location or direction they point at, these stylistic elements, remains the same, but specific details and some of these elements might change in response to encounters with new information or new situations. And in the case of my retelling, I really struggled with the fact that aside from Elisa Chimenti's book, I couldn't find and still can't find any folkloric references to a mountain in Morocco called Ulad el Ahmar. There is a region, a mountainous region, I understand, which is called Ulad el Ahmar, but the folklore around that is not clear, at least in the literature that I have access to. And this might be simply because the name is very localized, and so I would need to be searching grey literature and other sources not easily accessible on the internet, not just what I found in books and research papers. And what I suspect I would find if I looked closer would be a whole new world of Rifian mountain folklore with specifics and references that only people from the region would understand. Matter of fact, I know exactly where I would start my search this time, and it would be in Moroccan scholar Aisha Ramoni's Storytelling in Chefchaouen, Northern Morocco, an annotated study of oral performance with transliterations and translations. It's a mouthful, but it's a nice juicy text, costs about $200. That's why I don't have it quite yet, but I think it's about Chefchaouen, but Aisha Ramoni herself is from Chefchaouen, so I'm pretty sure that the perspective from that book would probably be different from Elisa Chimenti's storytelling as a whole, and also whatever commentary I'm able to find online. So fingers crossed, one of these days I will lay my hands on that book. But for now, I have to content myself with my retelling, which is at best a pop culture type rendering of the story, with details adjusted to make sense to the average modern Moroccan for whom Sidi Shamharoush, in all his lofty glory, is the big boss of the mountains. The next thing I want to draw your attention to is the blending of Islamic and indigenous beliefs. And this is in the way the jinns of the mountains themselves are believers in the Prophet Muhammad and in Allah. And this is not unlike Sidi Chamharosh's conversion, which we talked about last week. If you remember, he started out as this great jinn of the mountains, which is a common element in the indigenous beliefs of the Atlas Mountains and other northern African peoples. And then at some point, that spirit converted to Islam and became the king of the jinns and a great scholar of Islam. And, that's how those things go. And there is also the aspect of dreaming spirit possessions, which is resolved by Quranic readings and prayer. And that's something that's really specific to the Northern African context as well. And also something, my friends, that is a topic for another time. The final thing I want to mention is the context of the story itself. Now, the Rifian Mountains are very mineral rich, and so they have been subjected to extensive prospecting and mining of iron and lead, as well as the quarrying mentioned in the story. And mining activities in the region intensified in the 1900s under Spanish rule, the early 1900s, I believe. And the stable incomes that people could get from mining pushed many of the Rifian people to abandon their agricultural lifestyle and turn to mining. But then the mining, because the Spanish weren't necessarily investing in the development of the area, didn't lead to the long-term industrialization and wealth creation that people had hoped for. And so this left a lot of disappointment in its wake, which has been captured in songs and poems, because Rifians, like most North Africans and Africans as a whole for that matter, are very skilled at using songs and poems to express deep feelings. And so this history of exploitation has resulted in specific oral traditions which tell the story of the shattered hopes of many of the communities in this region and their path towards re-establishing themselves. And I also have in the episode notes a paper from Moroccan scholars, Drs. Jamal Essaraj and Munir Kalka, on the socio-historical dimensions of the exploitation of Rifian mines by the Spanish, as portrayed in Isran, or the poems of the Kalia people. And the Kalia people are an indigenous North African people in the Rifian mountain area. Eliza Chimenti collected her stories after years of visiting with and talking mainly with Moroccan people and women. So many of the stories present a uniquely women-oriented folkloric perspective. If you look at Umhani's love for and desire to protect the integrity of the mountains, and Chayeb's casual indifference to the reality of the mountains as entities in their own right, this more than likely reflects these attitudes that came through in the telling of the folktales, especially reflecting how people felt about that era of exploitation. And so you can check the episode notes as well for another paper on how ecofeminism shows up in Eliza Chimenti's work. And this paper is really good. I appreciated it because the authors looked at her folktales, her poems, and other writings to show how she positions women like Umhani as closer to nature. And this adds value to Moroccan women's voices, their knowledge, their spirituality, but also shows how the exploitation of nature mirrors the exploitation of women. And this is an argument that has been well established in the body of feminist, ecofeminist work that's out there. And so that paper is in French though, so keep that in mind. And as always, I'll include links to more information about the Rifian Mountains and the city of Chefchaouen, or the Blue City. It's really pretty when you look at the pictures. Thank you as always for listening, and we'll be back next week with more of our investigation of the folklore of African landscapes.